And our second main topic today is submitted to us by Omar94, who writes, "Hey guys, huge fan since the AMC days from Tallahassee, Florida." Well, thank you so much, Omar. "I watch older Disney movies and realize that one thing that makes me sad about the ones coming out now is that they no longer have 2D animation. While I know that computer animation dominates, I really miss the hand-drawn animation we used to see, like in Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. Do you think we will ever see them again?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Omar. And you know, Rob, over the past 10 plus years, this is a topic that comes up once in a while about, are we ever going to get back? Now, it should also be noted that all over the world, 2D animation is still very much used in a lot of other places in the world that are not North America and Hollywood. But it's still a thriving thing. Well, maybe thriving is too strong for it, but it is still very much alive. The art of 2D animation around the world is still very, very much alive. And we're always asking the question every once in a while, it's like, are we going to get back to that? And today, it almost feels like the question is more relevant than ever. We have these 3D animated films that are being nominated for Best Picture. We have 3D animated films that are joining the $1 billion club. We have a Toy Story 4 coming out that looks like it's just going to be a monster. And now, on top of all that, they're taking it to the next level, that we're getting this animated stuff that looks completely photorealistic in things like Jungle Book and now with the upcoming Lion King. It almost makes this question about, are we ever going to get back to traditional 2D animated stuff? It makes that question more relevant than ever. Rob, let me ask you this question. Number one, why do you think that despite the fact that a lot of other places around the world do utilize 2D animation, why do you think Hollywood is just not doing it anymore? And number two, do you think we'll ever get to a place in Hollywood again where we may get back to that traditional 2D style?
That's a good question. I mean, look, I think we have seen like movies like Tangled, like Disney put out movies like Tangled. Now, even 2D animation has a 3D and computer assist. And like there used to be artists, and I guess there still are, called in-betweeners. So you'd have the animators that would draw our main character poses, and then the in-betweeners would fill in, they would draw the movement that wasn't as sexy for the main animators to draw.
Right.
So making this kind of animation used to be a very, very tedious process where literally every single frame had to be hand-drawn. And while I love that style, I think, and I too feel like our viewer, I love 2D animation. I watch a lot of Japanese anime, and I think that there's still a lot of 2D in there, like Space Battleship Yamato, but then they use 3D a lot for the space battles and all that. So I do think like 2D animation is probably not something they're going to bring back. I remember in Beauty and the Beast, they used that big ballroom sequence where it was CG.
Which at the time was so moving. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was this incredible amalgamation or combination of 2D and 3D animation. Remember those big sweeping camera moves as
they're dancing across the floor?
Yeah, and it was
gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And it was like, wow, this is really interesting. But I just think that the days of Aladdin and Ariel and 2D animation are probably, at least for Disney, probably gone. They'll still do things like, I mean, Frozen. Isn't Frozen a combination?
I don't.
Is it all 3D? Is it all 3D?
I think it's all 3D. I could be mistaken, though. You might be
maybe,
right, but I think it's all 3D.
I mean, I just think that, I mean, clearly, like you look at the water and things like that, they just couldn't do the kinds of water effects like that we saw in that Frozen 2 trailer when she dives in and freezes the wave. But I will miss it, but I just don't know. Just like, dude, I love stop motion animation. And stop motion animations. Now, why do that when you have CG? But then you get a Tim Burton Nightmare Before Christmas and be like, oh, I love stop motion animation. So
I think there's a couple things to keep in mind here. I think the first thing is this, is that we are now living with a generation of young people now that literally their animation growing up was 3D animation. I mean, that's just the point that we're at right now for a lot of them. And that is what they've become accustomed to. That is what an animated film is to them. I think, too, at some point, nostalgia is a big thing. You know, vinyl records come back into style, you know, at some point. So, I mean, there's that. So I do think at some point we will see, maybe even out of a Disney, I think at some point we're going to see another 2D animated feature film coming out of a Hollywood system. But it's going to be an exception. It's going to be a one shot. It's going to be maybe one or two over the next 7 years.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see that trend. And, you know, if you want to look at well, really, what was the final nail in the coffin in this? Just go back to the last kind of thing that really utilized the look of traditional 2D animation. And you're going back to something like Princess and the Frog. Princess and the Frog came out in 2009, made $267 million worldwide on a $105 million budget. It may have actually lost them a little bit of money. Maybe. Less than a year later, let me bring this up here. Tangled comes out. Less than a year later, makes $591 million as a 3D animated feature. Now, it would be ludicrous to say or suggest that, oh, the reason why one movie made so much more than the other is exclusively because one had the 2D traditional animation kind of style and one had 3D. That would be ludicrous. But if you ask the people around Disney, they're going to say, hey, but it's a factor. It's a factor, and it just might be kind of a reflection of the time that we're in right now. So again, so my kind of response to this is, I think we will get one or two more over the next 7 years for a nostalgia play, but I think the days of it being the norm or even semi-regular, I don't think that's going to happen again. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I was thinking, I thought Tangled was still 2D, but I knew it was
just the one
Princess
right before
and the Frog. Yeah, it was the one right before. So it's a transition. But I look at it this way. Animation, filmmaking is all about art meets technology. That's why it exists. And as much as I love stop motion animation, after seeing Jurassic Park and you see photorealistic dinosaurs, does anyone want to go back and watch like the Ray Harryhausen dinosaur animation from something like Beast from 20,000 Fathoms? I mean, no. Nobody would watch that. They want their 3D animated dinosaurs because they look kick-ass and real. So unfortunately, as technology marches forward, things in movie making get easier and more interesting. And look, I don't think a movie like Coco could have been done via 2D animation. And I mean,
a different experience.
It would have been a different experience. And look, I love 2D animation. I mean, Fantasia is one of my favorite animated films of all time. And what a great example of animation. But even that actually used physical effects that they went and rotoscoped and they animated. So has there ever truly been, I mean, it's always been sort of an evolving process. And I love where animation has come. You can have photo cutout animation like South Park, but that's still CG. And it's pretty great. I just don't see us going back. I mean, Ghibli, like Howl's Moving Castle or Princess Mononoke,
everywhere
the Japanese,
else around the world,
like you said, still doing some great 2D animation. I just can't see Disney doing it.
All right, guys, the question is, what do you think about that? Do you think that they should bring back 2D animation, but do you think it could be successful at this point? And if not, why not? Is it a cultural thing? Is it just a financial thing? What do you guys think? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.